Managing ethical risk through mandated and voluntary programs. Voluntary practices basically means your beliefs, your values, and your voluntary contractual obligation in a business environment. All businesses engage in some level of commitment to voluntary activities to benefit both internal as well as external stakeholders. No matter whether the employees and stockholders of the company, but also the external stakeholders, which could be the government or the union or the member of the societies who actually go into that organization to shop or to do business with them. Philanthropy basically explains giving back to communities and causes. There is a strong evidence to suggest both the law and sense of ethics increase voluntary corporate social responsibility practices. In addition, research has demonstrated that when both ethical and legal responsibilities are respected through core practices, economic performance benefits. An example of philanthropy is giving money to charity and volunteering, donating canned goods to a food bank to help need families in your community, or donating toys. We can also use philanthropy in business, such as strategic philanthropy describes practices through which companies align charitable activities such as donations and volunteerism with a social issue or cause that supports their business objectives. Voluntary boundary is described as a management-initiated boundary of conduct, beliefs, values, and voluntary policies and voluntary contractual obligation, while in core practices, a highly appropriate and common practice that helps ensure compliance with legal requirements, industry self-regulation, and societal expectations. Core practices are documented best practices, often encouraged by legal and regulatory forces as well as industry trade associations. If the core practices are not enforced, there are some consequences for not engaging in them when misconduct occurs. For example, the federal sentencing guidelines for organizations suggest the governing authority be responsible for and assess an organization's ethical and compliance activity. No reporting or investigation is required by government regulatory bodies, but there are incentives for the firms that effectively implement these recommendations. For example, if misconduct occurs, firms may have opportunities to avoid serious punishment. On the other hand, if the board has made no effort to oversee ethics and compliance, its failure could increase and compound the level of punishment the company suffers. In this way, in institutionalizing core practices, the government provides organizations with the opportunity to structure their own approaches and only takes action if violations occur. Mandated boundaries are externally imposed boundaries of conduct, such as laws, rules, regulations, and other requirements. Antitrust and consumer protection laws created boundaries that must be respected by companies. Organizations need to maintain an ethical culture and manage stakeholder expectations for appropriate conduct. They achieve these ends through corporate governance, compliance, risk management, and voluntary activities. The development of this drivers of an ethical culture has been institutionally supported by government initiatives and the demands of stakeholders. We can see in Figure 4.1, it depicts the key elements of an organizational culture. These elements include values, norms, artifacts, and behavior. An ethical culture creates an environment to structure behavior that is evaluated by stakeholders. As mentioned in previous chapters, values are broad and viewed as long terms, enduring beliefs about issues such as integrity, trust, openness, diversity, and individual respect and responsibility. Norms dictate and clarify desirable behavior through principles, rules, policies, and procedures. For example, norms provide guiding principles for anti-bribery issues, sustainability, and conflicts of interest. Artifacts are visible, tangible, external symbols of values and norms. Websites, codes of ethics, ritual, language, and physical settings are artifacts. These three elements have different impacts on behaviors. Organizational decisions on such issues as governance, code of ethics, ethics training, and legal compliance are shaped by the ethical cultures.